they told Rod that they were going to offer us a plot which is 5 hectares in Chisuma, which used to belong to Rod Mchenje and my sister. And then they would give us a 4-bedroom house in Chinotimba or Nkosana, which we could use as a family. And on top of that, they would give us $80,000 cash for us to restart ourselves. And on top of that, they would pay the rates to the council, 100,000, and I still told them that they did not have to pay 100,000 because council was overcharging the rates, and yet the property was non-functional. And every time the council people would come to check the water meter and realize that Royal Lodge was not functioning, but still they continued levying commercial rates over a non-functional property. And likewise, they offered a plot to us, and then in turn, they turned out to say they did not allocate it. So we all found it very funny, and I was busy with my outdoor world trips. I used to go out to assist people in the bush and do some ceremonies and cleansing ceremonies by the water points, Domboshava, Masvingo, Harare, Karoi, Binga, and most of all these water places. Right, so after having received 200,000 from a McAllister or Dundon in Safaris, the lawyer kept 20,000 US dollars, and he even wrote a letter to me to say, furnish us with your bank details so we can give you the money that's left over from the sale of your property. And yet I even went to the lawyer's office 3 times before the sale, trying to convince him not to go ahead with the auction because this is a spiritual healing home, and also it's for national importance. This is where the bones of Ambuya are going to be settled. This is what Ambuya's form said, because I've managed to host Ambuya form at this property for 3 years, and she manifested to me and said she was executed by an execution order which was given by King George II, I think in the 1800s thereabout, and her body was taken over to London, and then it was cut into 8 different parts. One of the legs was buried under Church A, another hand Church B, and then Westminster Abbey. So for this country to be governable, by then it was President Mugabe who was in rulership, the state first of all has to brew traditional beer to appease the spirit of Ambuya, and then Ambuya would guide them to London to go and have her bones excavated. Then they will be brought over to Zimbabwe for proper burial rituals so the country can find peace. And she also said to me she has come to assist me fight the 4th Chimrenga War, which is the one I'm fighting now. That is the one to teach the people of Africa to find their destiny and their direction, because they are busy worshipping their ancestors in reverse. Most of the churches are teaching people to disown their ancestors, saying that they're evil. And yet in the same Bible, it says, honor your mother and father for your days to be increased on earth. So we should also change that route so that our siblings can learn to thank their ancestors and God at the same time, so they will find direction. She also highlighted on the coming of this COVID disease, and she said that a lot of people were going to die, even though there will be no guns and aeroplanes, but a lot of people will die from hunger and things like that, which is exactly what the corona disease is doing. And she said people have to tend solely to the ancestors and run on a cultural base. Even the government has to be run culturally so that there will be good governance and so forth, because the spirits are very disturbed, because the coming of the Bible disturbed the way of worshipping of the original people of this place. So now we have to unite with the whites and the blacks. That's what she said, because God knows us as one people, and we should create a rainbow family package whereby we live and interact. So obviously by Dundon moving into this property and demolishing this property, they committed sabotage, because it is not fair and it's very racial of them, because seeing that Mbuyane was beheaded by the white people, and now coming here, the portrait of Mbuyane was in front of one of these buildings for a very long time, and they did not respect that. They went on to demolish the homestead. They went on to move my spiritual tools and threw them out, including my personal belongings, my blankets, my pots, and I had about 35 copies of my videos that I capture every now and again to depict the presence of the spirit in me. And I've been producing videos ever since 2005, and some of my videos are featured on Intambo, ZTV, and also on internet, on Facebook. I've got about 35 or 30 copies on internet as it stands on YouTube, and they are under Dr. Stella Wesamachena Manake. And then there is quite a lot of them that are missing that are still in studios. I've been doing a Wake Up Africa compilation, including the other 35 copies which were stored in one of the trunks in my surgery, and apparently all these items are missing. There was a couple of jewelries, a couple of gold watches which I used to get from my clients overseas, and also a lot of some very special items which I cannot describe because they are on my personal list, because they moved into my property without my approval. And so apparently the McAllisters, when I went to their offices, or to Mr. Nwe's Busiso's office in Bulawayo, I told him point blank that my property was worth 400,000 US, and I'm not willing to take the 20,000 he had put aside for me. Then he said it was too late. We had already done the sale, so the family had to organize another lawyer, which was organized by the same Rodum Change, our brother-in-law, because when I saw Rodum Change, when McAllister and them sent them, I told him my family first had to go for a spiritual consultation to find out whether it was possible for me to sell this homestead, because it's a spiritual homestead and my work is more a calling than a choice. I was running a business, but I was made to stop the business because they had to run some spiritual issues on Royal Lodge. And so I told Rod to get a hold of my sisters so they could go and consult on my behalf, so that they hear the outcome on the part of this homestead. So 3 times they sent Rod Mchenje, and on 3 times I still denied to give away my home. But then what happened? Rod went on to get a lawyer, Mr. What's his name? Nema and Associates in Harare, and he started representing the family, and he started seeing the loopholes that these guys did not follow the right procedures for them to be able to come in and occupy my homestead. And besides, how can people that I have agreed with throw away my items? Because Mark Allister, one of the directors of Dundon, he has been claiming in about 4 or 5 of his affidavits that he made a verbal agreement with me in order for him to take Royal Lodge. I mean, if I had made a verbal agreement with him, what did I ask to get in return? Because this is a specifically important business homestead and also a family homestead. What do I get? Where is the house for my family? And where is my plot to exercise my spiritual rights? And where is my money for the sale or exchange of ownership of this homestead? Up to now, I have not received even a cent. And as we are speaking, this is the 17th of November 2021. From 2020 of 2018 or so, I have not received any cent from the sale of this property, which means these people duped me, and they have gone on to sell this property to a neighbor, a certain Mr. Osborne, and only Mr. Osborne has extended about 14,000 US dollars to me, just so that I will not fight him over my spiritual or worry him about my spiritual tools that are missing. But when it comes to Dundon, they have not given me a cent. So I want to say thank you to Mr. Dundon, to Mr. Osborne, for trying to be reasonable. Now Mr. Dundon, Mr. Osborne wants to make use of his place. Where do I go from now, since I did not get even a cent from Dundon? And so it means they robbed my place. They committed sabotage because they destroyed a home which is very politically connected, which is supposed to help the president, because there was 4 letters which were written to the president by my spirits, which were supposed to be taken to the president to give him guide on how to run the country spiritually. All those letters are missing. Number 2, they committed racism because they moved into my place, maybe because I'm black, so they decided to demolish it without giving me a cent, and they did not even pay tribute to the spiritual form of Ambuyane. Number 3, they committed perjury because he is lying that I made a verbal agreement with him, and yet I never even saw him. I have never seen Mr. McAllister in my persona. Number 4 is defamation of character. And I do not know how I can put it, because it's not fair. It's him, McAllister, and then Dundon, and then the town council. They have to compensate my homestead because I don't owe the council anything. I've been working on a spiritual healing mission and a global peacemaking mission, of which everybody knows, and I've been to the council several times to relate my story, and they still ignored it. And then the most surprising thing is, I went to cancel 3 months back to check on the records to see how much was paid to council after Dandan has paid $200 to whoever. And I discovered that Dandan was only, council was only paid 124,000 bond RTGS, and that's only 6 months back. What about the past 2 years? What was Ngube doing with all this money? And where is my balance? Where is my 20,000? As if I had agreed. Where is my true value for my property? How come everybody is concentrating on their value or on their evaluation? Because Dandan has gone on to resell the property. And yet when they kicked me out or threw my tools out, they said they wanted to develop there and then. Now they've come to take all their bricks, there's nothing, and they have sold the property to a new owner, and they've not given me anything. What is that? I think it's theft. I think the president has to intervene in this one, because we cannot allow this to happen in a beautiful country like Zimbabwe like this. Then we have people take advantage of an innocent woman like myself, someone who is trying to uplift the life of the general people. I go to the Zambezi to perform spiritual cleansing services to many people from outside and from within. You can even check, there's so far 20 videos on YouTube, and each video of mine has been evaluated for almost $500,000 because it's original spiritual capturing. I'm a spirit medium, and I psych more than 20-30 spirits in me. So that means I'm a very important tool to the nation. But then these guys have disturbed my way of living. They've disturbed my way of working. They've thrown away my very important spiritual tools, and they've demolished my homestead. They've demolished my gazebo. They had even no principle or consideration at all to try and see where they would put me if they took over my property. So I want someone to be answerable to it. I've got no confidence in the Law Society of Zimbabwe because, one, Mr. Nema, who was chosen to represent the family, ended up trying to bribe us out of the property for 30,000 US. He gave the family 30,000 US and claimed he had bought the whole property, and yet it was not even worth, it's worth even more than 10 times that. So I want us to know which way we go to, because we are being represented by bogus people who only want us to fail and to see fire. So this is not very good at all. I want someone to be able to pay me for my property, because all these bricks that they are demolishing, I worked for them. I paid for them. They didn't just land here. I mean, look at those gampos. They are so big. Even yourself, you can tell that there was a lot of work there. But all I'm trying to say is, I would be very happy if all this can be reversed. Town council has to allocate Mr. Osborne another piece of land if Mr. Osborne bought only the land from McAllister and them. McAllister and them have to reimburse the demolition of my gazebo, which is worth 200,000 US dollars on its own. And also they have to compensate for my missing videos. There is 35,000 at about 500,000 each. If I make my compensation light, I could ask maybe for a 1 million US dollars for everything. If they are not prepared to do that, then I think the president has to intervene, because I'm a social class personality who is willing to return the lost livelihood of the black people and the African people. And I'm also willing to unite the blacks and the whites. And I'm also willing to say to the people of Zimbabwe, you've got a strong cover of the mighty president, and he just needs to incorporate the works of spirit mediums like ourselves, and also to brew some traditional beer so that the bones of Ambianeanda can be brought back to the country. And her choice of coming to be placed at Royal Lodge for shrineage, that has to be considered, because none of these people is willing to listen to me when I tell them about the outcome or the situation of Royal Lodge. They always try to write me off as if I'm nobody. So right now, can you tell me, all of you, where I should go? There is no scent from Dandan. There is no scent from McAllister. And they have taken my homestead and they have sold it. But all for what? For greediness. They are very greedy. And I'm sorry, if I am going to be forced to leave that place, then God is going to answer to these people. God bless you, Tunya Fallz, and God bless you, everybody. I take it they made a mistake, but it's a very big one, because they really have to do something for my spiritual rights. And I have actually to brew a traditional beer and make a traditional ceremony. Then we pay tribute to the spirits so that this homestead can be taken over nicely by anyone who is going to take it over. It just doesn't happen just like exchanging money just like that, because they want to make money out of my property. I'm very sorry, you people. And we must pay tribute to water. This place belongs to the water spirits, and I've been habitated by the water spirits as a matter of choice, because I've got a strong willpower, and I'm going to turn the wheel of the culture vibrantly. And I've got a big following all over the world. And if that's what it means, then it looks like there's people out there who are still willing to cling on the backs of poor people and take advantage of them simply because they are thirsty, they are greedy, and they've got no consideration at all for others. We must pay tribute to water, and we must remain united, and we must all pay tribute to Tunya Fallz, and we must all pay tribute to the president, and we must all pay tribute to our ancestors and to the likes of the Mbuyaneanders, the Chaminukas, the Kaguvis, and the Shakas, because without nature we are all bonded to nothingness. Look at the harshness that nature is treating us to. It's because we people are so cruel with each other. Why can't we face reality? Why can't we face truth and life? Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm just a simple person? Is it because of color or ability? Why can't we have lawyers who are dignified? If the lawyers can steal from us, like the Nema and Associates, and now the Ngube and Associates, then who is going to represent us? Because now we are finding it very difficult to seek for any legal what can we say, representation, right? I want to give this time to space so I relax a little. But God bless you, Zimbabwe. Royal Lodge will always be Royal Lodge, and that's it. Kana mchida kuitora yenyu zviforce torai, asi one day mchadzoka naye. Thank you, Tatenda.